people better.
Jesse, we are live. We are live on Facebook.
Yeah, Archana teaching me.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. You must meet my friends. We have Hemant. Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Hemant.
Ravi. Hi.
Hi, Ravi.
Kavita. Hi.
Okay, that's perfect.
Hi, ma'am.
That's the first.
You like?
That's the best way to go.
Yeah.
We have to make our habit like this.
Yeah, it's been like so owned by the world now. I mean, we thought it's India, and now everybody is comfortable with the Namaste. Suddenly, COVID promoted that.
Whatever we have done in the past is now a tradition now everywhere in the world.
Yes. But Prince Charles got it after his doing Namaste. So I wondered what he was doing before Namaste.
Okay, I'm admitting all, Ravi.
Yep.
Ravi, mute all, please.
How I can see I'm going to put my
So nice to see you all. Thank you for coming in. I think we are starting a little early.
Is my microphone working? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. So I'm feeling very happy. I can see a lot of people I know. I mean, friends and students. Students are also friends, of course, today.
So you can interact with them straight away. Say your hello to them.
Yeah, but how do I interact with them if they can't answer? Hi, Shatakshi. I can see Shatakshi. So you really have young people today. I can see Shatakshi. I can see Asya. Hi. And all know a lot of noise, but I always start with greeting them because I'm crazily partial towards my students. I love them loads. Of course, I love my friends who are, here to support me, but there is a big partiality there. And I'm really happy to see you guys.
You seem to be a very popular person.
That we'll discover. I think Millennium Ma'am is also a very popular forum because it's huge. So I can see a lot of my friends from there. Thanks for being there.
Why don't we hear something about Millennium Ma'am to start with until we actually go into the session?
Okay. You want me to tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, I would like to know.
Okay. So that's great. So Millennium Ma'ams is actually, it's a fully ladies organization, primarily that. And it was, like you say, behind every successful man is a woman. But here, behind a lot of successful women, stand these two men, and they stand very tall. Mr. Sanjay Bhubania and Mr. Vishnu Dhanuka. So they had this brilliant idea that we need to be financially literate. We need financial education. So it's primarily about that. They take classes, but it's very interesting as in, like our textbook is more or less newspapers. We attend AGMs, we do factory visits. We really want to know the investing world. And the other exciting part is because everything is related to that, whether it's, politics, whether it's, Trump said something, everything impacts the market. So it's a very interesting forum where we are into a lot of things. And we've been there for, I think, over a quarter of a century. I'm forgetting the exact date. And now we recently had very exciting speakers, like from Indra Nooyi to the founder of Paytm. And we have a very impactful president now who's done a great job of roping all these very interesting personalities in. And of course, the forum also has been great. So they've also been coming up with interested listening and great questions. So it's made it a fantastic session. And it's carrying on.
Great. In fact, I can see someone very special today. I think I saw this is Dr. Nandini Ray is here. Ravi, can you please unmute her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see her.
I mean, I have to say hi to Nandini Di, but I have so many friends here that it's tough to be. I can see Abhilasha from Singapore. I mean, I'm so happy that you joined. I can
Dr.
not
Nandini
see
Dey, you are unmuted. How are you?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I'm fine, Papa JC. How are you?
It's so nice to see you.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have Srila on the show.
Nandini Di, I'm so thrilled and so flattered that you came on. You've
Oh
just
yeah,
taken up my.
I'm all
You've
ears.
You've taken my USP up immediately just with your presence.
Not at all.
I'm delighted.
I have a meeting in 45 minutes, but I said I'm going to spend these 45 minutes with you.
Mrs.
Thank
Mitra,
you.
I must tell you about Dr. Nandini Dey. She was here as one of our speakers, and she had such a fantastic session. You know, she told us all about eyes, and she
I can
is
believe that.
my favorite doctor.
And for me, I don't know whether she's favorite doctor, but she's certainly friend, philosopher, and guide for. I run to her for everything, not only medicine.
Oh
She
my
knows
gosh. Mwah.
that. Drop her for
Thank you.
that.
And you have, you know what, Mrs. Mitra, I must tell you, she officially prescribed one procedure for me. She said that since you are having problem with one eye, you should move with one eye shut. So like this, I move around. So when anybody tells me why you're moving like this, I say, doctor told me to do this. You remember at the session?
Wow.
So that's a good excuse for the woman folk to say that you're winking at them.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, let's get it.
You want to, yeah.
Okay, let's start. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Papa JC Talk Show, and a very, very good afternoon to you. It's an honor to host so many people, all mostly ladies here today. Huh? Looks like a great session, and I think Mrs. Mitra is very, very popular. Great gathering today. Okay, yesterday we had Dr. Rajiv Agarwal to address several questions on women's health and their issues. There were so many questions asked, and he so well answered most of them. Till the end, he was there, and he was there for almost 2 hours. Until I reminded him that you have to go and take some rest. Okay, tomorrow we have invited Miss Aditi Kohli. She will talk about energy and how to create your energy and how to play with it. So she is energy coach and healer and a counselor too. She's an international pranic healing instructor. Her show is at 2 p.m. Get ready to come in tomorrow because really want to see you all. On Wednesday, we have invited a special doctor who will address the hottest topic, hair won't fall. So he will tell us that actually how hair won't fall and many more to come. So may I now request Kavita ji to please introduce our guest of honor today. Kavita ji, are you there? Ravi, can you please unmute her?
So, good afternoon, everyone. In modern times, it has become imperative to acquire communication skills in order to reach out to society, reach a larger audience in a shorter time than having individual conversations. So, herein I introduce Mrs. Srila Mitra on board. She is a founder and director of Sneak Smart, an institute in Kolkata that aims to create leaders and effective communicators. Also, a certified public speaking and effective communication professional, the highest scorer in effective communication skills, Trinity College, London. She primarily specializes in working with children, young adults, and women. She conducts programs in effective communication skills and public speaking for the last 20 years. Currently teaches at St. Xavier Senior School, Kolkata, School of Music, and Speak Smart. The first president of Millennium MAMS from the years 2005 to 2008, working with the organization for 15 years, which imparts financial education to women. Also a committee member of the Ladies Study Group, Kolkata. She enjoys conducting debates, panel discussions, and has been involved with various social groups for looking after and uplifting the economically downtrodden section of society. Founder and patron of Tali, a wholly charitable educational center, coaching over 280 school children in Nadia district, West Bengal. Tali has a special focus on teaching English, mathematics, and spoken English. Besides this, her interests include reading, classical music, Rabindra Sangeet, and travel. Over to you, Papa JC.
Well, I thought you were a college student. So much. Very difficult, huh?
Thank you, Jitin. That reminds me of something which I was talking to my kids about, because there are two ways to look at it. One is, we all know beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And the second and more infinitely exciting version is my students will know beauty lies in the lies of the beholder. And I love those lines.
I was actually thinking when I was listening to her introduce you, I was just wondering, I thought you were a college student. So, anyways,
I am a student.
So nice to have you, ma'am. Because in fact, you are here because your name was mentioned in a WhatsApp group that we have, and 2 or 3 people recommended your name. So that's how I called you up, and I'm so glad you're here today. And this topic that we are talking about today is very close to my heart because communication is my weakness too. I mean, I'm never comfortable communicating. I don't know. But that's a problem with me. So let's start with one simple thing. What is communication?
Okay. Definitely, Jitin. I think that is a large part of what we are going to discuss today. And we are also going to take up the issue of your communication because, it's we'll take that up, whether you're good or bad, and then we'll figure out towards the end and see what people have to say on that. Maybe we should do a poll on that and you'll know the answer. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Jitin. Thank you, the entire team, and all of you for attending today. Because I was just reading somewhere that there are some tasks in the world that are especially challenging. One of them is trying to kiss somebody, and you're coming this way, and that other person is moving away from you. Another thing can be, you're trying to climb a wall, and the wall is towards you. And so to try to climb a wall that's sort of leaning towards you, very hard job. And the third most difficult thing is to address an audience post-lunch who've had this happy home-cooked lunch in COVID times. So to keep them awake and keep their attention post-lunch, I don't know whether it's equal a challenge or more of a challenge. And we'll be completely tested today, Jitin, you and me. So I'd like to start by saying, and thank you, Kavita, for your wonderful introduction. And thank you, Jitin, for taking up the recommendations that came to you. And like you already mentioned that, I want to answer first why I'm here. So you did mention that I'm a certified person in communication skills. So I'd like to clarify that. Of course, I'm certified, but the truth is I got my certificate good 20 years back. At that time, I think Bill Clinton was American president, and I think Vajpayee ji was Indian PM. So, but at this point of time, and both of them were great orators. I don't doubt that for a second. But the truth is today, the biggest influences are in our lives, politically, are Modi and Trump. Now, whether we like them or hate them, that's a completely separate issue. And my whole point of saying that to you is, over the last 2 decades, a lot of things, there's been a lot of change also in speaking styles. So even if long time back, like Churchill was considered a great communicator, or everybody knows of, the I Have a Dream speech, Martin Luther King. Of course, it's a brilliant speech. But when you talk, do you want to sound like that today? You want to talk like Ted. So the whole point of my saying this, it's not just having a certificate. I'm really passionate about the subject. So you have to constantly update, you constantly have to listen, you constantly have to learn and be there with what is relevant today. So, and why communications? Why did I choose this as a subject? For me, I think communication is probably the most powerful thing in the world because it allows you to say, I love you. It allows you to say, you are very important to me. It also lets you say, I can't stand you. That is intolerable. So you can start a war. That is the power of communication. Or rather, that is the gift of communication to us. for those of us, who can, I mean, we all know that story about Draupadi and Duryodhan, where I think Duryodhan visits their palace and he trips and falls into water, and she's taunting him that, you're the sign of, you're blind because you're the son of a blind man. And that is the taunt. Maybe it's one of the reasons, that's not the only reason, but one of the primary reasons for the Kurukshetra battle. That is the power of communication to you and for me, and that is why I am so very fascinated by the subject. But I want to take you again 15, 20 years back to when I started teaching, and I want to share that experience with you. So initially, so this is what my thinking was, that communication is this important and how can people do without it? So I started teaching and I called my classes effective communication skills. Do you think there were any takers? Believe me, there were very few takers. So I actually had to, because nobody knew what effective communication skills were or whether it was important for them to do it at all. So I actually had to reframe and rename my class and call it public speaking classes. So when I started calling them public speaking classes, it tripled, it quadrupled, and there was quite a large number. But effective communication skills, there were no takers for at that point of time. So the thing is, so like Jiten said, I mean, I'm happy to discuss what is communication. So I want to see whether actually that thought has changed. I mean, do we really understand communication as I want you to understand it, is the question. So for that, I don't know how to do this because maybe we mute you or maybe you use the chat box to answer. I want to just start with asking you a few questions. First question, say there's a teacher in a classroom who's talking to a particular student. Are they or is she communicating with the rest of the class? You can answer in the chat box. It's a simple yes or a no. Do you think yes?
The question that has come in right now is she wants to know from all of you as to when the teacher is communicating in the class with somebody in particular or in general with the class.
She's talking to one person in class only.
So the teacher is talking to one person in the class, and whether she is communicating with the entire class or not. Yeah. So what is Yes.
Yeah. So
let's hear your answers.
Okay. So I'm warmed to see a lot of yeses. So
yes.
I just have one or two no's. So I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions and then we'll take the answers together. Second question, say a man is talking to a hotel receptionist, man or woman is talking to a hotel receptionist. Are they communicating with the rest of the people watching them present in the room? Okay, here I have a lot of no's.
Not at all.
Predominant.
Okay.
Not at all. No. Okay. And then we are going to review it. Okay. Say somebody is petting a dog. Is he or she communicating with others? I mean, not the dog. Of course, if you're petting the dog, you're in contact. So this also has predominant no's. Okay, so this is predominantly no, so I have to come in here. Okay, so here I just want you to. So and then
Can yes, I answer?
What do you think? Yes, of course.
The third one is if a man is petting a dog, a pet,
yes.
Maybe
a person is petting a dog or a pet. Yes.
Yes, the communication that the man is doing is definitely with the dog, one-to-one, but is also giving an impression to the people watching that he is very caring and someone who is very caring, good-hearted, or whatever has a liking for animals. So maybe he is also communicating with the others. Some message he is giving to them. In the second one, you said about the hotel. I'm sorry, I was
hotel.
Answering.
So you're very excited. I'm happy to see the communication is happening. Good.
Yes. So the second one is about the reception. Yes, again, how he is talking to the receptionist leaves an impression on the people looking at him because they are also waiting to talk to the receptionist. Probably he's also communicating with them around, even if not directly, but indirectly leaving a message about his personality to them. So this is what I feel. And class, of course, yes, because everyone is listening.
Okay. So I have a student, Tarini. My Tarini is saying not necessarily. Mean the people can pet dogs and not communicate. So I have, and I know Tarini is this one young lady with a just with strong
Why don't you
opinions.
bring her up for a
So,
communication?
I can, but it's okay. Tarini, come in.
Okay, Tarini, would you please raise your hand? I will unmute you right now because I can't locate you. Ravi, can you please unmute her?
If we put it to speaker view, I think she'll come in. And
No,
she's
Ravi, can you please unmute her? Tarini. Tarini, please raise your hand, then I can locate you. There are too many people actually.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, fine. I can't see her. I
Okay.
can't see her. She can chat.
Anybody who disagrees, I'm happy to take on.
Okay, anybody?
Oh, I can see Tarini. I can see Tarini. She's making faces at me.
Tarini, okay.
Does
What's
she,
her
she
surname?
doesn't. She doesn't have her. Okay. She doesn't have her hearing.
Okay. She's on. She's
Okay. Yeah.
hello.
But
We have unmuted you. You can talk, please.
she's still muted. Or because her name is showing up as Smita Call.
Ravi, can you
That's
please make her host? Can you make ma'am the co-host also? She can unmute herself.
Yeah.
Okay. Very. Tarini, you have to feel very important today. Such a complicated procedure to just reach you.
Ravi, have you
Okay,
made her
yeah,
the co-host?
so- Yeah.
Yeah,
she's,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Tarini
You can
can
go
come
on.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, teacher.
Hi, Tarini. You're not supposed to call me. Yes, teacher. You can. Okay. Up to you. So you disagree that petting a dog, you're not communicating with the others?
No, you're communicating with the dog.
You're
I mean, you
communicating
can be
with
a
the
really mean person who doesn't care about anyone else, but you can still pet the dog because you feel like it.
Okay. So
I mean,
that's
if
an
you're
interesting.
bored to death, then you're bound to pet the dog if there's nothing else to do.
There's Tarini for you with an opinion, and that's an interesting opinion. So, and she's right in her own way. So we are communicating with the dog for sure. It's not a complete communication about who I am. So she's bang on there. So I mean, I might be having other hidden things in my personality which are not, but definitely that part of my personality. And Jitain, I agree with you here. So when you said you're a poor communicator, I'm obviously disagreeing here because you're completely bang on. So no matter what we do, even if we are petting the dog, even if I'm talking to my driver on the footpath and everybody else is looking on, I am in effect just by my presence, with the way I'm communicating with him, the way he's responding to me, we have both send out multiple messages about the type of people we are. You know, how I dress, how I conduct myself, was my tone of voice soft, even with the receptionist, how she handled it. You know, is she a patient person? Is she that Kharoos type who's getting really irritated, then the next person should watch out? So whether, I mean, inadvertently or not, I mean, there are people who are going to watch you and they are going to come to their own conclusion about, whether, so communication is, I feel communication has happened. So the next two questions I want to ask you, say you're waiting, just imagine there's a doctor's chamber that you want to enter and everybody's waiting in the waiting room. So here nobody's talking to each other. So is communication happening? Okay, so Shatakshi is saying no. Tejas is saying no. Okay, so here I have some yeses, predominantly no. Okay, and I'm happy that some of my students or people have to. Okay, so Jitain, what do you feel?
See, again, we're talking about communication as a, see, there are two things. I'm not able to get your question properly. Communication could be communicating your personality, communicating your words, or I mean, talking is communication, or giving an impression is a communication.
Yeah.
See, these are all different. How you are looking at it, different. The question may not have been clear to me. That's why I'm not able to answer.
Okay, yeah. So Nandini actually says, she says communicating through body language. And you're absolutely right. So because there are a lot of elements to communication. So there's verbal communication through your words, and there is non-verbal communication through your expression, through your tone of voice, through your body, and these are all very powerful communication tools. So whether we like to or not, we have ended up communicating. And the last one I want to ask is, if you are sitting alone with no one around, are you communicating?
If I'm sitting alone.
You're sitting alone.
Yes.
In a room, you're on your
Yes.
own. Is communication happening?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So I have great answers here. Just one or two no's.
Self-communication.
Yes. So because whether you, okay. So, right. So the predominant answer is yes. So you can't really switch the chatter off in your head. What is the next thing I'm going to do? Or I am getting bored, or, whatever there are thoughts in your head. So the self chatter is happening. That is also communication. So the point that I really wanted to make here is communication. Do we have a choice? Like, from the time that a baby is born, baby starts crying. Whether the baby is able to talk or not, a message has gone out. I need something, I'm hungry, thirsty, cold, whatever it is. To the point that we are right on our deathbed, where, you can be lying even in whatever state, but your presence will have communicated a lot of things about you to people around you. So this is the point that I wanted to make, because it's, like I said, very dear to my heart. So almost, I feel that from birth to death, through all our interactions, through all our engagements, through everything almost that we are doing in life, we are communicating. So are we in agreement there, or are we not in agreement there? Okay, great. So absolutely. So so now if I say communication skills class, now we have to see. Again, I just want to go into here. So I feel it's the most used and the most happening thing in the world, whether we, want to do it or not. Sometimes we don't even have a choice about doing it. Yet, how much of the communication is effective? Do we give, now we've agreed that we are communicating at all points of time, because I got a big yes, predominantly yes, big agreed and all that. But the thing is, see, I've said effective communication skills. So communication is happening. But we can't get away with not doing it, but are we taking care to be effective in our communication? Do you think it is important for me to be effective in my communication? Do you think it is important for us to be effective in our communication? What is it that makes your communication effective? Is it important to do it well? Does it define me as a person?
That's a question to the forum.
Yeah, I mean, you can answer. I'm happy to have it more interactive, because otherwise it becomes very...
Your question once again, please. You said...
Yeah. So, I mean, so do you think it's important to be effective? So what would you say is the difference between effective communication and just communication?
Effective communication would be making your what you want to express in the right and most prominent way, as in not too long, not too elaborate, short, precise, and clear. This is what I feel about an effective communication. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
Okay. No. It's, it's not about being wrong. There is a lot of truth in what you said, but it is a partial truth. And I will explain how during the course of the session. So you said, of course, what I have come out to say is very, very important today. And, each of us have a lot to say, which we consider it, very important. But it's like currency. If you think my words, my body language, my action, if I overuse it, it's going to get devalued. And if I don't use it at all, I'm going to get ignored by people, and I'm in, short shifted. So I don't get my objectives met. But if you can be effective with your communication, it can be a very, very powerful, life impacting, life turning, life defining feature for each one of us. So first, I want to start with, like we said, verbal, non-verbal. So I don't want it to become, a very theoretical thing about how do you communicate well. I am going to get there. So obviously, if you Google, they'll tell you 10 types of body language, and they'll tell you 10 types of things. I want you to understand communication in its essence, in its most distilled form. That is my objective, in a most very practical way. That is my objective for the forum today.
So can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How to pay a compliment to a person?
Okay, you want me to answer that now?
Yes.
You tell me, how do you started with paying me a compliment? Do you think it was effective, not effective?
No, but I really want to know what is the most effective way of complimenting a person.
Yeah. You asked, when I came into the forum, you paid me a compliment, Jiten. So you have to own it. You can't run away from it. Do you think you paid the compliment effectively?
I don't know because I did not get the response
Okay,
from
so okay, right. So I'm not, it's not my objective to, so if I'm scaring people, then not attaining my objective. The host of the show has to say yes, I meant it. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's an interesting question because a lot of people it matters. So obviously there is that thing of you have to pause, look at the person, smile at the person, mean what you say. That is important. And again, let me just give you a few more nuances here. It's always more intelligent to be. I mean, I won't say intelligent, to be less generic, more specific. You're looking good. How many times have you heard that? You're much younger than you look. So there's nothing wrong. Oh, you're doing fantastic. It is not a wrong compliment, but if it's like overused, I don't know the effectiveness of it. I'd rather if I looked into your eyes and said, I like that part of your smile, or I love your blue eyeliner, or I like the way you've done your hair today. Where my observation actually shows, I really like your smile. Or I like how, your one cheek does this when you smile. You'll be surprised at how people remember because it's a very specific, personalized compliment that you've paid. So I don't know whether I've been able to answer that. Another reason why we pay compliments, again, I'm coming to work with effective communication skills. Today, like, you're standing in a queue, say maybe airline ticket counter, or the, Geo guy has put you on hold on the line. Do you think a compliment is needed there to get them working effectively? So that is effective communication. So most of their thing is, they are running against time. They're seeing people, person after person after person in that queue with problem after problem, and they're very irritated. So if you can maybe put yourself in their shoes and say, instead of just complimenting makeup, thank you. You've been so generous with your time. You'll be surprised at the impact because I have experienced this. So they go back and they prove their generosity. They will do that extra favor to you because they are really stuck for time. So even with a compliment, of course, you do it to be popular, but you can also use that compliment to be effective, as in make it more effective in your community. It's not just you have to limit the compliment to a friend. We should be appreciative of everybody. I'm not saying always have a motive, but it helps if you know what you want. Did I kind of answer your question?
Yeah, yes, you did. But I was wondering if everybody takes in the same spirit. Suppose if I pay a compliment to you and you take it sportingly, someone may not. So that's a different thing. So if someone does not, just teach me how to apologize.
Okay, an apology.
Yeah.
No, doing an apology is a whole different skill because you have to ask yourself, that's again, the motive is important here, Jiten. So why do you at all want to apologize?
Because
why do you feel you need to apologize?
Because the other person didn't like the way I complimented.
Yes. So what are you worried about? If you paid a compliment, you try to do a good thing. So why do you need to apologize? You didn't step on somebody's toes. You didn't punch somebody in the face. You didn't come and break my window. So why is it important?
Interesting.
Okay. So the thing is, the very fact, and why take it to a compliment? I mean, tomorrow, whenever you take a parent and a child, even maybe, and you're telling your son or daughter, you have to go and say sorry to that person. And they think they're doing you a big favor. You ask me to say sorry because, okay, I'm maybe feeling bad about it. I've realized I've done something wrong. But effectively, the moment the concept of an apology is coming in, maybe there's guilt, maybe I'm feeling bad. But the main thing is I want to preserve, what is my objective? I have to ask myself. If my objective is to try and preserve that relationship, I want that relationship to work, then how do I go about saying that sorry effectively? It has to be a no strings attached sorry. Like you said, if I come at you, I've apologized 10 times for it, Jiten, and you're still now not in the mood. So what? I've told you 10 times. That's one way of saying the sorry. So because I have to accept, at the end of the day, I don't really have control about your reaction. I can't control that. That's not up to me. Somewhere, but if I want to say it, I can say it meaningfully. I can be apologetic. It's not my objective to hurt you. I can say it meaningfully. I can make sure I don't repeat it. And that message needs to come through. How that other person responds, not within my control. But if you do it with this approach in mind, instead of an aggressive approach of, I told you 10 times, you're not listening. I told you, but actually you did something very wrong. Instead of that approach, chances are your apology is going to be more effective, Jiten. This is what I feel. So if you have any questions, you can come in, or I can.
Let's
Okay,
move
so in that, yeah. So okay, so let me move on, because another question that I keep getting asked quite often.
I have a question here. I have a question from
Okay,
someone.
sure.
Now, talking
Yeah.
about this communication skill, is it
Mhm.
generally inborn, or it can be, created or built upon during a course of time? Because I see some people are born communicators. How
Okay.
does it happen really?
What do you think? What do other people think? I'd like them to come on. How many of you feel it's inborn? Okay, so we have a mixed bag of answers. Can be built up over time. Both. Yeah. So, okay, can be built up, sure. And it can be built up. Yeah. But, the truth is actually, I would feel, of course, it can be built up. It is a skill, and this is not me. This is Dale Carnegie said that, it is not a fine art. I mean, some would say it is, but since Dale Carnegie said it and he's like the father of communication, I have to give it to him. It's a skill that can be learned. To a large extent, it is a skill that can be learned. But we still need to understand today, if I go and learn tennis, I can play good tennis compared to who I am. But I still may not be able to be Roger Federer. If I go learn the piano, I can be a reasonably skilled pianist, but I may not be Richard Clayderman. So that is the truth. So even with you learn to cook, but you may not be, top rate chef. Some people can just cook to get by. Whatever the area is with skills, then in any subject, there's bound to be a natural aptitude and natural inclination. And some people, even taught the same things, are going to come out that much better. So there is a combination. But having said that, we can all do much better having learned it. Then we can be far more effective with our communication than we would without having gone through the learning process.
And then what is this? What is the role of body language in communication? How important is it? I mean, when we are talking, generally you see people moving their hands and they're trying to express through their body language also. What do you feel about this?
What do you feel? Do you think body language is important? I'd like everybody to come in. How important do you think body language is? Which is more important, verbal communication or body language?
Or is it both together? I don't know.
Okay, so I have body language and both. Okay, Sama saying body language is most important. Okay, so if I tell you today that, I'm very excited to be here. Or, I'm telling you, I'm very excited to be here. Or I'm telling you, I'm a very confident speaker. So what happened? What just happened here? So the main thing is, it's a lot about authenticity in communication. It's not that body language is right or wrong. I'll come to the basic ingredients of body language after a point. But the thing is, if body language is kind of going in sync with whatever the person is saying, if I'm telling you it's not a big deal, it's a little thing, or I'm telling you I'm really excited to be here, it's a big deal. So if body language is going in sync, if it's complementing whatever the speaker is saying, then it tends to have a huge multiplier effect on spoken communication.
So
However, if body language is conflicting, if it's going so then what happens is a lot of confusion in the mind of the listener. They don't know whether to believe the word. They don't know. Some will go with believing the word. Some will go with believing, the body language. So in effect, somewhere there's confusion and you've kind of made it out to be, maybe you're coming through as a liar or a person not so convincing. If you want, I can tell you a little bit about the ingredients of body language. So, okay, so so the three, because I'm taking it as, so the three, if I completely simplify it, like I said, I want this to be a very practical forum where, there are a lot of details and I don't want to get into it. But the three key ingredients of body language are, firstly, posture. So, posture is like how you carry yourself. Like sometimes when you see an army guy, you can make out from a mile that, this guy was in the army. his posture is telling you everything about it. You know, whether the confidence, the moment the speaker comes and stands in front of you, he owns the stage or not. A person walks into a party. You can see from that walk how confident that person is. So definitely your posture, your gait, your carriage, whether you are speaking publicly, whether, you know, however you conducting yourself, whether even you're sitting across, you know, a patient or a client in a room, your body language, whether if you're tired, if you're not interested, all that. So how you present yourself, your posture makes a lot of difference. The second thing, there are lots of ingredients. I'm going to take 3 ingredients today: posture, gesture, and expression, because these are the big ones. So gesture, like, you know, all of you will relate when you think of Modi ji speaking. What is he doing? He puts his hand out like that. That's effectively a very dictatorial gesture. You know, he's like telling you like this, listen to me. I'm not saying he's a dictator, because it's a democracy and he's a democratically elected leader. But it is, as a gesture, that, you know, it's a very big gesture that's reaching out into a larger audience. But generally for you and me in communication, what are the kind of gestures that we need to use? So if you, like, from roughly about your shoulder to your navel, if you drew out a rectangle shaped box, and you kind of kept your, sorry, this format doesn't allow me to gesture well and demonstrate. So, you know, if you kept your gestures within that box, that is a gesture where you're not getting into somebody's personal space. But it is very, like, if I just tell you that, you know, this session means a lot to me, I have not gestured. I've used my voice, I've used my expression, but I've not gestured. Versus if I tell you this session means a lot to me. Okay. So just something like you can see the reinforcement happening immediately. So gestures, of course, are very important. So posture, gesture. And the third ingredient is your expression. So how you speak with your face, your eyes, again, lends to authenticity, lends to the person's interest, and it becomes very important in communication.
Okay, so all put together, these 3 put together, they form a body language, if I'm right?
Yes, yes.
Then what about voice modulation? You see, when we are talking, we do modulate.
Jitin, are we getting too technical? Let me come back to voice modulation. Let me just ask everybody a question here. Yeah. Because, you know, another frequently asked question that I have here is, you know, people want to know the do's and don'ts of communication. They want to know, you know, what is it that you're not doing right? So I want to ask you, anybody, have you, you know, can you think of a very irritating person in your life? I'm not saying somebody you fought with personally. I'm not talking a personal battle, okay? So think of a very irritating person. When you say irritating person, who comes to your mind? Anybody up? What are the characteristics?
Not my wife.
Okay. So what are the characteristics? What does that? So you can open up and ask me. I mean, whoever we can unmute. What are the features of an irritating person?
Nagging.
Anybody? Nagging.
Okay.
Nagging. And anybody else? Can I have? Okay, Joe. Okay, I have interesting. Okay, nosy. So I have great answers actually. Talks too much. Drones on. Nosy. Talks negatively. Okay, so these are actually fantastic answers. So this is how I want you to understand communication. It's not technically, it will tell you, you know, stick your feet out this way, don't look over a person's shoulder. That's one way of doing it. But if you understand the essence of what is not to be done, just think of that irritating person. So that person is droning on and on. Maybe you and I are having this marvelous conversation, but that person comes in from somewhere and says something totally irrelevant. He doesn't care whether, like you said initially, you want to be listened to. But is that the way to get listened to? You're barging in on a conversation and you're droning on and on with irrelevant things. Okay, talking negatively. That's a great one, because you just think, you say, today it's Sunday, it's a great day, versus today is Sunday, what a terrible day. So negativity and complaining, sometimes we take to a national art. So but is it effective communication? It is absolutely okay to be crying on a friend's shoulder once in a while. But in the public space, and by public space, I'm not talking about public speaking. Even at a party, even in any forum, when you're presenting publicly, when there is a larger audience, and if you're this bag of complaints, if you're this bag of negativity, is it interesting to hear? Is it interesting to be at the receiving end? So again, you have yes, not to do. Again, somebody said only talking about yourself. Absolutely. So there are those people who come through as very opinionated. They are dying to talk about themselves and they hold such strong opinions. I know it all. Is that an interesting person to talk to? Do you think that person is capable of good communication? It can be the anchor. It can be Arnab shouting, I know it all and I'm not going to let you talk. Sorry, Arnab. And I'm not, there's no space for you. Or in any conversation, you find this person trying to dominate the conversation, pushing forward. This is my opinion. I know what Mamta did. I know her biggest secret. I know it all. Does that make for great communication?
He's forcing it on somebody. So I don't know. That could be one.
Yeah. So that absolutely. So, so that one man shape, you're sometimes even just competing with them. Nobody's trying to compete with you, but you're in a competition. You have to prove that I'm the smartest person in the room.
But do you realize he enjoys the highest TRP by doing this? Just by doing this, he enjoys the highest TRP.
Okay. So maybe people, yeah. So, I mean, maybe I go to watch it, but would I be, so I would love to watch his show, but is communication, would I like to talk to him? Would I like a conversation with him? Would I like to be at the receiving end of it? Do you think if I feel a person is not going to listen to me, is there going to be communication with that person? If I just enter a room, it could be my boss, okay, and he's going to shout me down. He's going to judge me. He's already prejudged me. He's going to shut me up. Is communication likely to happen? Especially in today's world when, we have all of us, each of us have here so many opinions and we are completely polarized. Whether lockdown should happen, lockdown should not happen. Global warming is happening, global warming is not happening. Whether you should be vegetarian, whether you should be non-vegetarian. So we already have hundreds of opinions. So for conversations and communication to happen, how can that happen if there isn't an open mind is what I'd like to ask you. So there we've established, whether it's one-manship, whether it's gross exaggeration, whether it's dogmatism, whether it's complaining, whether it's talking about absolutely irrelevant things, then, if you've identified that you don't want to be at the listening end of that, then not to do these things to be a effective communicator. That's the simplest way to, okay, so I have a lot of, I don't know, raised hands, whether they're coming up with questions or more answers, but you're happy to ask. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, you want them to ask you questions? Okay,
yes,
raise your hands. Raise your hands if you want to ask a question. There are two people already waiting. Abhilasha, I'm unmuting you. Abhilasha, you are unmuted. Okay. Anyways, she's not there. Okay.
No, she's unmuted. Okay. So let me just carry on a little bit. I can't read the chat box that well. Okay, so news anchors, Rakhi Sawant.
Yeah, Manoj Jain. Can I unmute? Manoj Jain, I've unmuted you.
Yeah. Madam, you were just telling me, Jiten was just asking you about the apology thing, how to make a good apology. Suppose we could not attend a business meeting, the time was fixed and somehow I could not reach or something like that, which happens in a normal day. So how do we apologize gracefully? Because maybe the person who's at the other end is not taking it lightly. So, how do he's not taking the call? So how do we apologize it?
Okay. So I'm just going to, I don't know the exact way, but I'm going to just share some insight and then you have to come to your way. So, okay, I'm going to tell you something that I heard Sheryl Sandberg say about apologizing. And what she said, she differentiated between an active voice and a passive voice. So I'm just going to explain myself here. So she gives an example that there's a toy in the room and the toy breaks. So a kid says the toy has broken. And another kid says that, I broke the toy. So here is the difference which she was trying to present. Like tomorrow when I land up late somewhere, I can say I got late. Okay. Or I can say I got late because I didn't take into account the fact that there would be traffic on the streets and I was not expecting that. So one is taking responsibility for that issue, whatever the issue is. When I own up to so two things happen, then it's up to me. I can actually make that change. Whereas if I don't own the issue at all and say that, no, it happened, it has nothing to do with me, am I even apologizing? So the graceful way, obviously, is to come up with the truth, own the issue, perhaps, and say unconditionally, it's not going to repeat, and whatever it takes to to take it forward from there.
Okay, we have
Yeah,
Manoj, are you satisfied? Okay, we go to the other one. This one, I have just unmuted Milan Bangar.
Yes. Hi,
Hi,
Sheila.
Milan. Hi, Milan.
I want to know how one can handle argument if other person is not listening to you and just arguing how to put your views then.
Okay, Milan, I think that's an excellent question. So I would like everybody to, in fact, give her a big hand, because this is one of the key things in communication. How do we handle an argument? So what is the main thing? You know, for all of us sitting here, sometimes we even remember, people in the house arguing, you can think of. And what is the thing that's being said? You're not listening.
Voice breaking.
Problem there.
And what is one person feeling? Sorry?
Voice.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it is. It's better now.
Yeah. Okay. So here, when two people are arguing, often the concern is, you're not listening to me. That is a sentence that keeps coming up in an argument. You're not listening to me. That other person is going on talking, but you're not listening to me. So that is, again, a very important thing in effective communication. How do I get that other person to listen? In an argument, I need that person to see my point of view. So how do I actually get that to happen? So you just hold yourself a little back, Milan, and you watch whatever the argument is happening. So long as that person is shouting or airing his view or arguing about whatever, is it going to make any difference you're saying anything? Because that person is not in listening mode. So how do you convert that into listening mode? So, the answer actually is in the word listen. Like when you take the letters of the word listen and you kind of turn them around, you can also spell silent with it. So if actually you turn the tables, I'm not saying at every point, if you listen in to that person's grievances, whatever the issues is, he can tell you or call you names, he can say all sorts of things. I'm not saying you have to say, I agree with you. No, but you can say, I get you. I understand, where your anger is from. So only when you stand in and listen to that person's point of view, will you be giving that person a sense that, yes, she's understood, she's got me, she's listened to me, she's heard me, she knows my issue, she knows what I'm suffering. And maybe that person is going to then be in a frame of mind to listen to you.
Okay.
So you really can't control his shouting by telling him to stop shouting and telling him, don't raise your voice at me. That's one way of going at it. But are we achieving our objective there? That's what, I'd ask. So what is your objective? Your objective is, he listens to me. And how do you get that to happen? Milan, did you kind of get what I...
Yes.
Did it make sense to you?
Yes. First understand. Yes.
Yeah. So we are so keen to talk that we don't actually end up listening. Somebody is telling us about our holiday. I went to New York and I'm not even listening. I'm just dying to say, I also went to New York. Is that active listening?
No.
So whatever. So if we can, so active, unbiased listening is actually a very, very important ingredient of communication. And if that happens, arguments wouldn't happen. And a good communicator would actually not be arguing with the person, because they smartly be able to listen in and influence that person subtly, in a negotiation by saying, I've got you, I agree with you, I understand your problem. That's what we all want, that he gets me. Even if I take the simple case of, people like girlfriend, boyfriend, it's so hard to say, the moment a person likes you, maybe you can't have a relationship with that person, but you want to keep that fan following. It's so hard to say no to that person, because somewhere that person likes me. So that desire to be liked, that desire to be understood, that person gets me. These are innate human needs. So if you want to be an influencer, if you want to be effectively heard, you've got to stand back and listen, and then you wield the power. You just think, if two people are doing the talking, is the talker the better communicator, the bigger talker, or the listener the better communicator?
Listener.
Okay, so there you have your answer.
Okay, thank you.
Can we? You want to go for this question again, or another question now, or you'd like to?
We can take questions or whichever format.
Sujata, I am unmuting you. Sujata, you are unmuted.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's Dhruv here, Dhruv Rampuria.
Hi,
And,
Dhruv.
and ma'am, my question is that is it necessary to use flowery language while formal communication or any kind of communication?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question because I get it in many ways that you have bombastic vocabulary. So it entirely depends, Dhruv, on who is at the receiving end. Because like in an argument, you've got to see my need. Am I going to be interested in those bombastic words? Because often in a conversation, people, what is he saying? Somebody is citing a date, a time, or whatever, and what am I waiting for? Just come on, man, get to the point. Okay, that's my thinking. So am I interested in a lot of flowery vocabulary, or I just want to reach the point in a smart way? So it's not about having big words to say. It's about, because sometimes you get the feeling, sometimes somebody is not even using big words, but you just get the feeling that, okay, this guy is a good person, he's an authentic person. He's communicated that to you effectively. Of course, the combination is better when you have effective words as well as the body language, then it's far more impactful. But flowery words in itself, Dhruv, what do you feel? Do you think, did you get your answer? Do you think flowery words are a necessary tool for a good, impactful communicator?
Dhruv,
He gave such a full style.
So, ma'am, like after hearing your explanation, I felt that the communication should be in a very easy and understood manner to the person receiving.
Absolutely. So it's, in fact, my favorite acronym here is the word brief. Okay, so BRIEF, if I can share, because it's easy for everybody to understand. B stands for believability. There has to be an honesty in your approach. And honesty doesn't mean that, oh my God, you're looking ugly today. I don't want that kind of honesty because that is just upsetting for people. But there has to be a passion. You have to talk from a point of experience. You have to be believable. So that's B. R, brief. So R is for rehearse. You should be prepared with your matter. You should have, good matter. Your content should be interesting. I, what's the interest? So you have to know what is going to interest that person. It has to be interesting for that person. If I'm giving a lot of details which is not interesting, whether it's in a conversation or in public speaking, people stop listening. So BRIE, E is for edit. It's very important because everybody has short attention spans, everybody's short of time. So it's very important to edit out and hit the nail on the head as soon as you can. And F is for fun. So if you're a fun person, if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're saying it with a smile, do you think people will listen to you, Dhruv?
Yes, ma'am. I personally feel that a very healthy gesture and a smile on the face can always bring out the communication in the best possible way.
Okay, so you answered that, Dhruv.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Take another question by Meghna Bajodia. I'm unmuting you.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Sheila-di.
Hi, Meghna. Good to see you.
Great to hear your talk. It was awesome. Learned a lot. I wanted to ask
really talk.
you.
Yeah, tell me.
No, it was. I got a lot of takeaways. Thank you for that. So I wanted to ask you, what is the best way to say no to somebody? Like for an effective communicator, how should we say no? Like an absolute no, or softly? Like what is the best effective way?
Okay. So Meghna, I think that's a very relevant question because, this is something that all of us have to do very often. So, you tell me, when is the time that you wanted to say no and you had difficulty doing it? Was it a party invitation?
I've said no many times, and like sometimes it's come across as too brash, like I've just said an outright no because I'm very this thing, but that's why I need to learn how to say no.
Okay. So here the catch is, when we are saying no, and why are we worried about saying no? Our biggest fear is we don't want to upset that person.
Right.
It is not my intention to hurt that person's feelings. That's not the reason I'm saying no. The reason I am saying no is because I generally don't have the time. I have other better things to do. But I don't want to upset you, and I don't want to say that to you in that way, because if I tell you that what I have to do now is more important than attending your thing, you are going to get upset. So there are two ways to think. A few ways to think about it. You have to think in your mind, how important it is. So I feel it's okay to, say that, let me get back to you. I really want to go, but let me get back to you. let me think about it and see, let me rework my schedule and see if, because I do want to commit, but let me see if because when I want to commit to it well, so let me rework my schedule and get back to you. That buys you some time. Sometimes even a white lie is okay. But if your fear is that much, then you have to understand that that person is probably very high on your priority list. Then maybe you need to bend back and not say the no. So, you have to think about why you're saying the no and how important that is to you. And but it is a difficult situation that we constantly have to face.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Meghna.
Before we go to the next question, are you comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can keep it to question answers.
Are you enjoying the session so far?
You're asking me, you have to ask
Yes, I'm asking you, how are you comfortable?
I'm happy.
It's very important for me that my guest should be very comfortable here because she has to address so many more questions.
No, I'm happy to answer. So, I mean, I'd like participation for the others, or I can,
Okay.
I think it's good if you come up with your questions.
Ravi, can we have the poll on? We want to hear how people are enjoying the session so far. Ravi, in the meantime, we can start the poll. I'm unmuting another question. Rajeshri Goyal.
Okay.
There's a poll going on. Please give your opinion. It matters. Wow. All excellent. 100% excellent. Good. Excellent.
Okay.
Can you see the poll result?
Not quite, but I believe you. I'm happier to believe that for the time being. Yes. So Rajshri.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Rajshri. So good to see you.
Yeah, same here. Sheila, my question was, as we were talking earlier, that if you are in a conversation and somebody has the habit of just jumping in and not letting anybody else talk, so how do you avoid that? And you don't want to disrespect that person also.
Yes. So, that is, again, sometimes it becomes very, again, like the apology or, the saying no, your intention is not disrespect. But there are two ways to look at it. One is you get actively involved and against your wishes, you keep encouraging the person and you actively engage with the person. So in which case you're sending him the signal that I'm very interested in that's not his fault, because whatever it is, I've sent him that message and he or she will keep on talking. So that choice is up to me. Whereas I can be a little bit softer with even my nods and kind of get you, look a little bit more dreamy and a little less interested. And, so you have your body language and your facial cues and all that kind of gently give that person the message that some people are like that. And it's very hard because maybe it's their loneliness or whatever their issue is, or they're just dominant and they want to overpower a situation. So, of course, there is a saying, that you can be straight up, say a no and say no, or try to bring that person into the conversation, but it's hard. But there are gentle ways that you can signal very strongly. Gently, meaning sweetly with your face. You can act a little uninterested. You can fidget a bit. You can look away. You know what other people do when they're not listening to you. Look over your shoulder. You can make out immediately, Rajsi, when somebody is not paying attention to what you are saying. So give those signals.
Okay.
Give those signals, and I can assure you that person is going to get it.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila.
Okay, there is a question that's come up. In today's digital world of FB, Twitter, Insta, and WhatsApp, is communication more effective than before, or is it a question of quantity of communication versus the quality of tester years, the previous years?
Okay, who's asking? I'd love to see the person.
And this question is from Dr. Nandini Ray.
Okay, so Nandini, that's a very interesting question. So here's the thing. I don't think there's a straight answer, but with social media, I think what I feel is communication, the multiplier effect of communication has increased hugely. So there is a huge positive. When positive communication is happening and you're saying good things, the multiplier effect of that is very impactful and it's huge because the reach is so wide. But the flip side is similarly with your negative communication. If something is going wrong, if you're saying something that is irritating, if you're saying things that people don't agree with, that too has a multiplier effect. So the whole point of it is not so much for you, but I have a lot of young students here who are using social media. The whole point is once you put it in that space, you usually can't take it away. There is some kind of a record of it being there. So you can't say I regretted it later on. So when you put something on social media, it is like permanently in the public space. It's not like word of mouth that you say it and then you can deny it. You know, Trump does that all the time. I said it and then he said, no, I actually didn't say it. He forgets there's a recording. So you have to be very, very careful and measured. You know, just be conscious of what you are putting in the social space because it's just so important, so easy to make a gaffe.
True.
No,
Thank you.
Does that you probably already knew
Yes.
that, but thank you for
No,
asking
no.
me.
You put it up, you know, wonderfully, very succinctly. Thank you.
Okay, there is one question which has come up. What about the stage fright? There are a lot of people who have the stage fright. I mean, how do they tackle that stage fright?
Okay. So, you know, stage fright, there are a lot of elements and, you know, you can have a whole class on stage fright. So I can't get into the details, but I'm just going to give you a few tips. Like if I say, let me give you 3 tips. First thing, you know, I always use Churchill's words because Churchill said, like, you know, in my 20s, I was very bothered what people are thinking about me. In my 30s, I didn't bother so much what people thought of me. And in my 40s, I realized that people were not thinking about me at all. Each one was thinking about themselves. So when you go up on the stage, you know, the first thing that stops you from speaking is your consciousness. Even when you're asking a question, I'm answering the question, you're thinking, what are people thinking about me? But the fact is, each one is very busy thinking about themselves. I don't know how many people are actually thinking about the other person. So that is one part. Second thing about stage fright, second point that I'd want to make, think of, you know, watching a horror movie. First time you watch a horror movie, what is your scare? That I'm going to go up and make an idiot out of myself on the stage? The first time you watch a horror movie and you don't know the ending, how do you feel? You feel very scared, obviously. Second time when you watch the horror movie, does your fear decrease or not?
Yeah, we know the answer, so it's okay. We know what's going to happen.
So, exactly. So with repeated practice, I mean, the horror of being on stage is bound to decrease. So that's the second thing like I'd like to tell you. And the third is a tip that I want to share. You know, anybody can make a mistake. So that again, on a stage, it's not, I mean, or when you're speaking publicly, a mistake can happen. It's inadvertent. So what do? One is you gently apologize for it and say that, you know, if you think that something you've missed is very important, you can always go back to it. Or you can stand there and draw a lot of attention to it. Do you think that's a smart thing to do? So mostly, even if you're shaking, your knees are shaking, most people can't say it. So my suggestion would be don't draw attention to it. And obviously, you should go practice. You should think of the worst case scenarios. What is the worst thing that can happen? I can make a mistake, in which case I carry some notes. You know, if the lights go off, what can I do? If you think out the possibilities and you prep and you go, how bad can it get? But, you know, that is again a separate session. I hope these tips have been useful.
Then normally what happens is, suppose you make a mistake, then you don't want to go back again because that mistake always keeps reminding you that you did this when you were there last time. So that's what one cannot overcome.
Yeah. So the best way to overcome it, Jiten, is you have to have, you know, first let me tell you, when you talk about the human mind, you just think in your day, today, a lot of things have got right with me. But if I yelled at my driver once, you know, my mind towards the end of the day will keep on going back to that negative. That's how we are wired. We keep thinking of the negative. You have to understand the origin. Initially, it came in as a self-preservation instinct. You know, the flight or the fight response to things negative because you could take care of the negative. But here what happens is we are focused on the negative so that we can take care of it. So a simple answer to your question is, you know, you're conscious, you know where it's coming from, put enough positive experiences behind you. So then you don't focus on the negative. Do it that many times so that negative becomes from a 50% to a 10% to a 1%, and you have 90 other great things to think about, focus on them.
Excellent. You try and do that because I have a stage fright too. Okay, then there's another question. I'll raise, someone has raised once, Debarko Dotto, right? I've unmuted you. Debarko Dotto, you're unmuted.
My question to you is that, for example, we have an audience who are not interested to what I am saying. So, ma'am, how can we draw their attention?
Okay, that's an interesting question, Devargo. Now, if people are not interested, you tell me. You know, if somebody is not interested, very little you can do, because you have to go prepped from before. That is why a very important thing in communication skill is to figure out who is going to be at the receiving end, who is your audience. That means you've not done your work before going in. Like when Jiten said, you know, I'm about communication. So, you know, you can be presenting very confidently. You might know your matter very well. Does that make you a good communicator? No. Because if people don't want to listen to you and becomes like a chemistry lesson, then you're irrelevant. So of course the content is important, and of course the confidence is important, and a great presentation is important. But it is a very important thing to figure out what is going to interest your audience. So for there are a lot of interesting ways to do it, but it's hard to do it right on the flow. Okay, so few tips I'll give you. One is when you use sensory perception. I'll just give you an example. If I tell you today I had a great lunch, I had a delicious lunch, I had a fantastic lunch. You're getting the fact that I had lunch, but you're not seeing anything, you're not feeling anything, you're not sensing anything. Whereas if you say I had this really spicy hot samosa for lunch and I started sweating, I started jumping around the room, you know, you immediately feel the tingle in your taste buds. You feel, you feel feeling hot. You know, you feel that person reacting to the samosa. So that is when you use the art of storytelling, when you use narratives that people relate to. If I'm talking about a figure that nobody relates to, obviously you're going to be uninterested. So you have to figure out what the audience can relate to. Bring in sensory perception. Even like if you're using data, if I tell you that it's so many acres, a place, I don't know how many people can understand acres. I can't. Whereas if I told you that it's about the size of 10 basketball courts, maybe you relate to it better. So that is the way, whether you use data, whether you use sensory perception, whether you have to figure out what the audience can understand, what the audience is interested in, and take it from there. And that is how you have to structure your speech. You have to figure out what they want to hear and what's going to interest them.
Are you sorted, Devargo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Suman Agarwalji, I'm unmuting you.
Hi, Suman. Good
Hi,
to see you.
Sheila. Same here.
Hi.
We always learn something new from you each time I hear you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, Sheila. So I wanted to ask you that how do you simplify a complex question, complex issue in order to make the other person understand?
Okay. Suman, do you want to give me an example? You know, because people do it in different ways.
Okay.
One of the easiest ways is I always think I'm talking because I teach communication to kids. So, and it's, of course I teach communication skills to adults also. So my thought is I have to say it in a way that they would understand. And immediately the answer comes to me. But if I have to simplify it, put it in a language that the kid is going to understand, I am automatically going to break it down. And you'll see, even if it's a complex economic issue, you're talking money, you're talking interest rates, you can possibly break it down. So there are tools and techniques. You can use pictures, you can use stories, but it is possible to break it down if you imagine you're speaking to a younger person, a person, not only a child, but a person like a doctor will adopt a certain style of speaking when you're speaking to another professional, but should adopt a different style of speaking when they're talking to a non-professional or a patient. So you have to break down your prescription so that the patient understands. So if that is the approach you take, I think almost anything we can simplify.
Okay.
And that's a very important point, because that's the thing, you can come prepped with great matter, but if it's not relevant to the person at the receiving end, then communication is not happening. So it is crucial to break it down to that person's point of view and make it relevant for him or her.
Excellent, excellent. In fact, how do you know so much communication? You can really go on. It's like you are like a chalta firta Google on communication.
No, not at all. Not at all, Jiten. But I mean, we can kind of, even end here if you want, and I can give you my favorite tip.
No. Okay, there is one question which has come up just now. They want to know about shyness. There are a lot of people who, one is stage fright, the other one is shyness. Now, what does shyness mean? That does it stop from communicating, or what is the reason? How do they overcome it?
Okay. shy. Okay, Jiten, do you think there's a difference between being introverted and shy?
There is a difference, yes.
What
Being
is the
introvert
difference?
is someone who is not doesn't want to express. Being
Right.
an introvert would be someone who doesn't want to express. Being shy is more thinking that they may not like it, or
Yes.
this
So
is how.
you've in effect kind of answered the question. So when you're shy, it's usually, now are we talking about a child or an adult? Okay, so whether it is either, it is you've had certain experiences which have not probably been very happy. It could be a comparison with a sibling. It could be whatever experience where you think you're not going to be well received. So that is what is creating your shyness or your fear of lack of, acceptance there. So you feel that I'm not going to be, so you want to shy away from it. But then, each of us have some parts where, if you stand somebody up on a stage, maybe they're shy, but you put that person into a different type of a conversation or a format and they are not going to be that shy. So definitely one way of doing it is you build up your strength, you build up that other part of you, so your confidence generally grows. Like even with an adult, you can, join another class, you can sit on a park bench, start talking to people, you can practice in many ways to get out of your shyness. If it's a child who is exceptionally shy, like I've had shy kids, maybe, 2 years down the line, whose first time I call him up to speak, he's gone hidden under something, a desk or something, and he's refusing to come out. But you have to understand then it's a process. And a lot of parents are asking me every time, what is going wrong? What is he not being able to do? But as a teacher, I usually, and as a parent, you focus on the things that he can do. Initially, even if the child is not participating in class, I let him listen in, because a lot of absorption, a lot of, I will tell him, okay, critique, smile at, say what was good about the speech. You get participation in different ways so that he is involved and he starts enjoying the process, because till he starts enjoying the process and is comfortable, that shyness is not going to go away. It is a process. It's not that from tomorrow you can just stop. It's not a button you switch off that you stop. So you have to keep going back in that format, find your comfort there and deal with it.
There's a question that's just come up in relation with this, that this lady, she says that I am in my 50s, late 50s, but since the beginning, I have not been able to socialize. When I go to a society or a social function, I cannot interact. I cannot come out of this, this arena of not interacting. So she cannot speak to somebody. She does not speak to somebody, and she keeps quiet all the time. How does she get over that?
Okay. So here again, when we are talking fear, there are different ways to answer it. One is the Churchill point of view, which I strongly believe that really, I don't know how much other people are bothered with thinking about you, because mostly people are thinking about their impression, the impression they are making with you. So I'd ask you to really, hold that thought. Most of us, we are, it's that consciousness that they are going to think, they are going to belittle me, I'm not good enough. And for this, I just, my aunt-in-law is hopefully not in the forum. I just like to give her example. So I have this aunt-in-law who is not very good at English. But you'll be surprised at how effectively she communicates. She will confidently make herself understood. And people are understanding her because she is not very bothered about, she doesn't do the Makali act of sticking out her tongue when she's made a mistake. So she's gone with the motive, I need to put a message across, and she will put that message across. So like I said, it's not about the flowery language. It's not, of course, you have to dress right. You have to present reasonably well. But after that, consciousness doesn't help. And the only way you will improve that is by making attempts. Now, suggestion is, like sometimes when you're in a very known zone, you're scared that, how these known people are going to react to me. So you can perhaps start practicing in more unknown places. Talk to a passenger who's sitting beside you. Talk to, like I said, a person in the park. Start practicing with people who have less impact on your life. It's a one time and you don't even know the reaction, but your practice is getting done. Like I said, talk to the hotel receptionist, pick up the phone, talk to, somebody who doesn't. So as you keep practicing, because that is the only way you're going to get over it, with practice. So how can you practice? If you have one uncomfortable space, then you practice in other spaces where you can, and this could hold for everybody.
So one should go from micro level, 1 to 1, and then 1 to 2, and then 1 to 3, like this, you expand your horizon, right?
Yeah, of course, but it is practice of having that positive experiences.
Okay. Now, I've been hearing a lot about this personal branding. What is this all about, and how does one work on that?
Okay. So, you know, personal brand.
Coffee or something? Have you called for the coffee, the second cup?
Yeah, I have my coffee. So people who know me know that that's part of my whatever, my coffee.
I don't believe you're 1 hour and 15 minutes into the session already. So you have another.
Okay. So yeah, I have some time, and then we'll okay. So you asked me about personal branding.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, why do you buy your Nike shoe?
To make to be noticed. Rather,
okay, that's one of the objectives. Is that the only reason why you're buying your
Nike? First thing is comfort. First thing is comfort, but I can get the same comfort from another low-cost shoe also. I don't know, maybe a little less. But yes, if I'm wearing a Nike, I want to be noticed wearing a good brand.
Okay. Why would you make Maggi noodles?
It's easier, faster. I don't know anything else to cook.
Okay, great, excellent answers. So this is what, when you pick up a brand, when you wear your Nike, you have certain expectations from the brand. It's like a promise it makes to you. People will notice the shoe. I can expect the company to replace it if something goes wrong. I do have a certain basic level of comfort. Even with your Maggi, I expect it to be easy to cook. Anybody can cook it. So that promise, it's meeting. Similarly, when I'm talking about myself and personal branding, it's not a question of putting that ad there in some space. It's not a question of just giving one great speech and then you are sorted. Throughout your life, no matter what your age, whether it's 5 years or 40 years or 50 years, you are your walking, talking brand. That you are projecting a certain personality, whether you like it or not. So you are brand you, and people are going to associate certain thoughts, certain qualities that they expect from you. And that is, in essence, what is brand you. But the only thing, the catch here, where effective communication comes in, and that I'd like to just share, is, there sometimes can be a diversion. Like I may think I'm brand Mercedes, or I think I'm a Rolls Royce, and I'm going about acting like Rolls Royce. But you're looking at me and you're thinking that she's a Nano. That is no Rolls Royce there, that's a Nano. So, that is where, again, we have to come in with effective communication skills, that my perception, when it is effectively communicated and it becomes public perception, that or others' perception of me, is when your brand value is truly established. I may, like you said, I may want to say a lot of things, but if I'm not heard effectively, then what is the point? So similarly, with my communication, to get what I want, the way I hold myself, the way I speak, the way I'm agreeable, the way I'm understanding, the way I'm helpful, it is me. The way I'm maybe well-read, I'm well-educated, whatever it is about me, all these factors are going to make me and brand me.
So you mean to say
effectively little actions that you're doing over the course of time and people observing you, that is going to shape brand you more than, because even if you make one impactful speech, you get a lot of hits or whatever it is, but you don't deliver after that. You think they're going to stick to brand you, then what is the value of your brand?
Correct. I wanted to brand myself as Papa JC. I think I'm going fine.
So you've done a very effective job.
I hope you are comfortable. That's more important.
No,
okay.
Absolutely.
We have some questions coming in from Sumanji. I'm unmuting you.
Hi, Sheila.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Suman. I can't see you. Let me make it speaker view. Hello. Yeah. Hi, Suman. You want to put your camera on? I can't see you.
Not really. Maybe I have a face mask on.
Okay. And I envy you that.
Okay. Sheila, I want to know what's the best way to communicate with a disobedient or a rude subordinate at work, or maybe even house help. Like what you just said, yelling at the driver kind of spoils your whole day. And really, going back to that brand you thing, I really don't want to be looked at as a yeller.
Okay. I think that's an excellent question. I think that's an excellent question, Suman, because we deal with it all the time. So here again, it's other than your personal branding, something else comes into play. So whether you are talking to staff, whether you have to ask yourself a very simple question. What is my objective? He's roughed you up. He has certain issues you need to hear him out, because till you understand his issues and know where he's coming from, whatever you say is going to be ineffective. You can be smart about it. Like if my driver's yelled at me, I can tell him that, yeah, you've yelled, I've heard you, but that is not what I'm going to respond to. I need you to say the same thing calmly. That is my response. That's a separate thing. But I do have to give him a hearing. Now, then I have to ask myself, what is my objective? Do I want to get rid of the guy? Is he important for me to keep on? So the moment I start asking myself that, my objective becomes clearer and my communication will also follow. So if I'm not interested in keeping my driver on, then I will talk in a certain way. Or if I'm talking to my what is my objective? I want to retain him. I want better work and more productivity out of him. Is that my objective, Suman?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in which case, if you rough him up because you're in a position of power, do you think that is going to happen? Or do you think he's going to go outside the room and just, get in, say all these things in his head about you, or tell 10 people about you, spit on your food, whatever. So you have to see how you're handling him and whether your objective is met or not. So maybe you need to stand back, calm down. Of course, it is irritating you and you can get into a temper, but is that effective communication? Is that getting your objective met? If your objective is to get more, productivity out of the person, then you have to handle it smartly. You have to step back, tell him whether you like it or not, that yes, I get you. I understand your grievance. I do understand that you have a problem, but I still need this done. And now you try to see that I do understand your point of view, that you're having all these issues, but. So that is the way you.
I mean, sometimes I find that if you yell around a little, everyone just wakes up or sits up, It's as if they were waiting for the boss to kind of yell.
Okay.
And
so that
move
is
things up a little.
Yeah.
What do you
so
think of that?
That can happen. That is, I don't know whether fear is the best way.
Yeah, that's what.
They say, so I'm going to share something with you, whether it's handling a child or whether it's handling a team, there are two things we talk about, the carrot and stick policy. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the stick is when you're scolding people to get delivery. Okay. That is one way of doing it. And the other way is the carrot policy, or incentivizing people to get delivery. So incentives also, there's no end. You can bribe a child. You can keep on bribing people. Even the investment banker, you're asking for more and more numbers, and he's burning himself hollow. So those are two delivery models. And the third delivery model, actually, which they say is the more effective delivery model. And I'm going to give you a strange example here. See, there's a guy in a hotel. Okay. And this story might sound disjointed, but I just want to give you your answer. So there's a guy who goes to a hotel. His daughter is eating this trosso in the morning and they go off for some tour or something. They come back to the hotel and she says, where's my trosso? I wanted to finish eating it after I come back. And the entire hotel has got in line to provide her a fresh trosso. So the manager says, so what he has done is he's gone back and told every employee the importance of having a very excellent customer experience. That's the brand of the hotel. So once people understand, every member of the team understands the need to do something, they are motivated to work with you. And as an employer, as a parent, if they understand that this is the process and this is what is leading up to, this is the end result this person is wanting, and I am a cog in the wheel, but I'm a very useful cog, because without me, that's not going to happen. So in a way, the best way to handle it is we need to subtly influence that person, subtly motivate that person. And for that, we need to listen in, handle his issues and motivate the person. But carrot and stick both has its own consequences. And ultimately, in the long run, I don't know how much good it does.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila.
Keep going back.
Does it kind of help?
Okay. There's one question in the chat which I would like to read out, but this has already been answered. What is the balance between good communication and body language? Perhaps this was the first question that we had asked. So please watch the recording on the Facebook. You'll get to hear it again. I am unmuting Orinjoy Ganguly. Unmuted. You can talk now.
Okay. Orinjoy. Yeah. Where's Orin? Okay, I know.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon. Orinjoy, you have your tiger on. I need to see you. You can put your camera on.
Your student?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Orinjoy,
My question.
Are you okay to put your camera on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so good to see you, Orinjoy.
My question is how to convince a headstrong person. like who is fixed to his point. Like his word is the final word.
Okay. So you tell me, who's the headstrong person you're dealing with? It could be parents, it could be principal, it could be friends who's not willing to listen to you. So how are you going to get that friend?
Yes, ma'am.
Friend? Okay. So if that friend is not listening to you or enjoy, and I spoke a little bit about it before, so very headstrong, that person is not listening to you. You can't force it. If that person is in just no mood to listen, you can't force it. But something is within your control. You know what that something is? You can't yell at him and you can't keep talking, but what is it that you can do? Think, tell me.
Ma'am, explain it to him like.
Okay, but if you start explaining it to him, you're trying to talk to him. But instead, if you just listen to him, if you listen to his opinion, first, if I know that Aurinjo is telling me 10 things, if I listen to you, first, give you straight 5 minutes of hearing or 2 minutes of hearing, only then I understand your point of view and then my explanation holds. And I tell him that, I do understand where you're coming from, but I say it with truth, that I do understand you. I feel your pain. I know why you're being so difficult about it, but I don't necessarily agree. But before even he's had his say, if you start with your explanation, do you think he's going to listen to you? Okay. So do you kind of get your answer there or enjoy?
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Excellent. Ma'am, I want to ask you a question. Sincere question.
Yeah.
Is
You
age
can, Jitain, you can go back to calling me Srila.
Okay, fine. Is age any bar to be a student of yours? I mean, I want to be a student of yours.
I mean, I'd love to have you, except for I don't know who'd be conducting the class then.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, can we talk about the classes that you take, or you have so many students? What is this? Talk about your school. We want to hear about your school.
No, it's not. It's an institute. I mean, where I primarily teach kids because I mean, it's just a personal choice. I mean, it's not that corporate training is bad. It's a great thing. But personally, it's a hugely rewarding experience to be teaching younger people because, they're with me for a long time and they really soak up what you say. And I think the multiplier effect happens maximum when you're really good and you're really young, then the world is basically your playing field. So that's the reason why I love working with kids and young adults because they really want to, there used to be a time.
Would you like to share some number if they want to connect with you? There are so many parents who come in today.
Okay, so I'll send that to you. I can give you.
Share it right now. You can mention it right now.
So that would be my personal number because I have various batches, so I'd have to direct them to what is different institutes, different. So it depends because it's not so to only the age of the child. It's the ability. A lot of things are assessed to depending on which batch that person would fit in. So I could give my number, or you could give my number, and then we could. Okay. So should I just put it? You can just put it in the chat box.
You can just say it. Just say it. Let them say it.
Okay. So 98300.
98300 it is.
64596.
64596. But this is for children.
But this is all. But can I tell you something, Jitain?
Yeah.
The moment you become a seller, you are defeating the purpose of community.
No, I am not.
No, I'm just telling you. Can I give you the classic salesperson example? I give you the classic salesperson example? So a salesperson is, I'm ready because I want to sell this to you. So I know, what I have and I have a great product. So I'm going on about my product. But what about your need? So till I listen in on your need, I can never supply that need. So this is with communication. The moment you are a seller and I am just trying to give you what I want to give you, communication doesn't happen. I have to figure out what the need is and then supply it.
I asked your number. Actually, what happens after every show, I keep getting these messages and calls. Please share the number of the speaker who came in just now. So it becomes difficult.
So go ahead. Yeah,
so
sure, go ahead. Okay. Go ahead, but sometimes if I'm not answering, then maybe it's okay to WhatsApp me or text me before. Because I am a little, if I'm taking a class, I generally don't take a call.
You have addressed all the questions that I would have loved to learn from you. There is one question which remains to be answered. Teach me a way to introduce myself to different people at different times. Like if I have to introduce myself here at this forum, how should I do it? And otherwise, how should I do it?
Okay. So that's a, Jiten, are you fond of eating?
Oh, I love eating.
Okay.
See my
So for
size.
you, what is, no, I didn't mean it like that. So what do you think is a tasty dish? What is an appetizing dish?
Jhal mudi types, masaledar, chatpata.
Okay, perfect. So here also, so if I want to cook a great dish and I have a lot of ingredients in my kitchen, if I put all the ingredients into that dish, do I have a great dish to serve up to you? So for jhal muri, I'll have to. So similarly, sometimes what happens is, if I'm introducing myself in a particular forum or to a set of people, if I want to tell you everything about myself, and it's a shopping list. Now, it could be a kid saying, I go to this school, I go to communication skills classes, I do boxing, I do swimming, and you're telling them, overloading them with information about yourself. It doesn't happen. But if there are two interesting things about yourself that you want to say, that is priority to you. That's me. I'm a guy who loves to eat, or, I love to conduct things shows, and you say it in a way that that person will remember. That is a far more effective, and there are a whole list of tools which I'll have to share with you if you actually, if people join my class, that's a separate thing. But that is the essence of it. Say one or two things that are meaningful in an interesting way that a person will remember you. But if you give a person a shopping list, nothing is going to register.
Now, for example, give us an example, because I really want to understand what that means.
So I just gave you an example. Like today, even if I come into the forum and I start telling you everything about me, that, I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, and, I go to Millennium Mams and I've been there for 15 years. I'm a teacher of communication skills. I do social, I've told you everything about me. But is it effective? Because if I give you a long list, you're confused. And then which one is me?
So I can suggest you
the
a way.
thing is, tell me.
You can say, my name is Dr. Sheila Mitra, Doctor of Communication. So it becomes very easy after that.
Okay, I will try that next time. But I'm happy with my name.
Oh, you were very good. You were actually very good. You answered questions as if you're giving prescriptions to their issues. And communication is such a difficult topic,
Yeah.
It is a problem within, more problem within. Like I'm sorry, you were saying something.
No, you go on, and then, I can have the last line.
Like for me as a person, I may appear to be good communicator, but actually I'm not. I'm very weak communicator at home. One-to-one, I'm very weak. I mean, if I have to communicate with my wife or my children, I'm being very honest. I'm very, very weak there. So I feel that I need to learn that role of communication, which I'm lacking completely. I can't communicate with a lot of people one-to-one. That's my biggest weakness.
So do you want to?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
I do want to, but...
Do you want to?
Yes, I want to.
Okay, so we'll sit with that. We'll sit with that over coffee and we'll discuss.
Yes, of course. So that means I'm invited for a coffee date. Thank you. Okay, next. I have one question is left in
okay, so can we take one question and then, okay.
One question is voice modulation for communication. How important is it?
Okay, so there are many ways to look at it. I want to make it a short answer, but I don't know how. Okay, even if I'm just saying hello there, okay, just take the simple 2 words, hello there. I can say hello there. I can say hello there. So how it's just hello there. If you are reading it on paper, you can ask a question with this. You can say hello there. Okay, I'm excited to see you. I can ask hello there. So what have you been up to? So there are various ways. My voice, again, is a very powerful tool. So how I say it, of course, impacts hugely what I'm going to say. So I'm quickly going to give you 2-3 things. One is, maybe I'll just refer back to that Akbar Birbal story. One is, obviously, it matters what you're saying and the way you're saying it. So when this astrologer came and told Akbar that, all your near ones and dear ones are going to die before you, Akbar booted him out of the court and didn't give him a reward. So Birbal made the astrologer rephrase it and say that you, sire, are going to outlive all your near and dear ones. And, the reward came and you'll be able to look after all of them. So he got his bag of gold. So that's similarly with communication. If I tell you that, you just don't listen to me, versus I'm trying to tell you, I'd be really happy if you listen to me. And I feel so good when you listen to me. So of course, words matter. How you deliver the words matter. And it's a whole subject when you look at pause, emphasis, pace. Too much to do today, Jiten.
Excellent, excellent. You explained so beautifully. Are you in the mood for some more questions because they're coming in?
Okay, I can take maybe a couple and then.
You'd like to wind up?
Yes, please.
But I was enjoying
If
the
you
session so much, so I thought another 1.5 hours chal sakta hai. Okay, I'm meeting Sushil Daga ji. You are there. I am unmuted.
Okay.
Now, okay. Sushil Daga ji, you are there.
How important do you think is the accent as part of communication? Of course, part of it is covered in the voice modulation which Jiten asked.
Sir, why is the video not on?
Part of it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. So the accent. Okay.
And the second part of it, if it is important, how in India can you improve it?
Okay.
How living
so first,
in India?
you have to figure out whether it's important or not. Like frankly speaking, if you're going to ask very personally, even when I'm traveling abroad, I prefer to maintain my accent because it clearly tells people who I am, and I'm quite proud to be me. You know, I'm proud to have. I don't want to change and sound like an American. Let them sound American. Let them bend backwards to explain it to me. I'm Indian and I'm very proud to be Indian. If I have my Bengali accent, I'm okay with it because it is somewhere very ingrained in my personality. But if I am not comfortable with it, if I feel that I want to tweak it to be understood, see, the only way to change it is you've got to hear a lot of it, whichever accent you want to convert to. And these days it's very easy to do, whether it's TED Talks, and so a very easy, now you brought up something very interesting, the simplest and easiest way to learn communication skills. Think of a person who you admire as a speaker. It can be Priyanka Chopra, it can be Arnab, it can be whoever. Follow that person, because if you like that person, so that style is resonating with you. You know, so my style may not be appealing to you. My style can be different from your style, but if something is resonating with you, that is your style. And it's quite interesting and quite easy to emulate that person. The way that person is saying it, his hand gestures, his tonal modulation, it's so easy to follow people and learn these days. So does that in fact answer your question?
No, it does answer. And my question was coming from a perspective. If I'm speaking, it's fine. But when it's a comparison, when an American is speaking as a leader versus I'm speaking, it makes a difference in Asia. And it is not just about Indians who feel the difference. I have spoken to Thais, I have spoken to, other in Southeast Asia. Sure. Everyone feels the difference that the Britishers or the Americans, when they are in Asia, they have an advantage just because of the accent. So it's, me speaking and an American speaking, we may be speaking the same thing, but he may carry he would carry a little more impact on the audience or on the team, global team, and things like that. Do you get where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, I do understand, but I just like to ask you, even with the most perfect accent today, if I'm talking rubbish, even with the most perfect accent, if I'm saying irrelevant things that are not impacting your life, will you stay with me? So ultimately, I've heard a lot of Indians starting from Mr. Narayan Murthy. If your content is great and you're confident about your matter, of course you can cultivate, it's in my mind, if you as much importance as you're given, because of colonization, we have that Anglophile, Francophile, US-phile mentality.
True, it is there.
We look up to the Goras, so that is up to us. Yeah. But the day I stop doing it, that chatter stops in my head. If I'm so comfortable, like you think, and there's been a huge change. I just want to tell you, like previously when you went shopping abroad, that guy would be dying to throw you out of his shop. They tell you, put it well. What do you want to buy? Today, when an Indian enters a shop abroad, it's a whole different ball game. They'll bend over backwards because you are a buyer. So that entire perception, there's been a sea change thanks to, whatever the political space or wherever India has come. So I would ask you to own your accent and just be you, is my suggestion to you. And if you don't agree and you want to cultivate the British accent, then keep listening to it.
There is not much option at this stage to change the accent. So it was a general question that we keep discussing across nationalities in Singapore, with the Thai, Singaporeans, or everybody. And everyone feels that in Asia it matters. So that's why we brought it up.
Sheel ji, could you please switch on the video? And hi to you. Ma'am, he is coming from Singapore.
Sorry. Okay.
He is coming from Singapore.
Oh. Hello, hi. Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes,
I didn't realize that my video is not on. Hi.
Okay.
No, thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't get your name. Could you please?
Sushil Daga. His name is
Sushil Daga. Okay.
He's
Hello, Mr. Daga. Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely to hear you.
Okay, there is one question that's come up. I think answer has been given. I read out the question. if you are not good listener, I think you can't be a good communicator. This has been addressed. So, Shilji, could you please mute yourself?
Okay, you want me to come in with the answer again on this, Nitin?
I think they can see the recording. It will only irritate you.
Okay.
Because,
Okay.
ma'am, I'm so sorry. The question, Swati, Sabuji, this question has been addressed in the first part of the meeting. So if you could please go and watch the recorded video on my Facebook, you will get the answer there itself. Okay. So how are you doing? You were trying to say something. You were saying when the question popped in.
No, that's okay. I thought whenever you want me to end, I just have the, one thing I want to say.
I don't
which
want
I
you
think
to,
is.
I don't want unless you want to end it
But
up having-
yeah.
I want you to repeat one thing which you mentioned, the full definition of brief. It was very beautifully explained. BRIEF. Can you please elaborate on that?
Okay, so brief, and I'll then tell you the final thing that I want to say. So I think in any conversation, because, just like when you ask the difference between, socially talking and public speaking, good, effective public speaking should be like a conversation with the audience. And when you're having a conversation with the audience, generally when you're talking to people at a party, you should keep the public speaking in mind. Because if you're thinking in public speaking, I'm going to be effective and interesting, but in the conversation, I'm going to be boring, it's not going to work. So I feel it's a very interchangeable format. And for both things, BRIEF, brief works. B is about believability. And I'm repeating this. Believability doesn't mean just being honest and saying you're looking terrible today. Not that kind of honesty. But I have to speak, you don't Google the answer. You have to speak from a point of passion, a point of, a life experience that you've lived. Then your communication is authentic. You have to mean what you say. So you're believable. And that is the TED speakers who get the highest hits are the ones who come from that authenticity and passion. Okay, so that's B. R is for rehearsal. I think it's a waste of everybody's time if you come to any forum unprepared. So you should be prepared and rehearse with your work. I'm not saying memorize it. Memorizing is a separate thing which we don't do. And, we do another session on that. But you should come prepared. So BRI is for interest. And like many people were asking, it's whoever's at the receiving end, you have to figure out what that person needs and what is going to interest that person. That is the interest that you have to create. E is for edit. If it's a 1 hour, you needed to bring it down to half an hour because you need to be short and sweet truly with your communication. And F is for fun. So if you're enjoying it, you're smiling, chances are other people will too. And with that, I'd like to end with a comment that my sister made. And she's not a gender biased person, so don't look into it that way. She said, a good speech should be like a mini skirt. So it should cover all the interesting things and then leave a little bit more interest to come. So that is what I'd like to end with. It should stimulate interest, but it should cover what is important.
All don't wear mini skirts. That's a problem.
That's just an analogy. You don't have to wear it to appreciate one. You just have to know what it's about. You don't have to wear it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You was actually very good today, and we enjoyed the entire session.
Thank you so much.
Once again.
Sorry.
We'd love to have you over once again. I mean, that's what I'm
You're welcome, and I will definitely. It was very enjoyable for me interacting on the forum. So thank you so much, and see you at some point over coffee, maybe.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
May I take my leave?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Hemant. Thank you, Kavita.
Yeah. Thank you, Hemant and Kavita and Ravi. Sorry. You really were very patient and you did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye.
See you all tomorrow.